There's the record button. Okay. Did you get a message?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
It didn't tell me anything.
Hello, everybody. This is Clackamas County Developmental Disability Council Advisory Council meeting today, 4/24/2023. My name is John Merrick Russell. For the record, John Russell, as chair of this council. I'm thankful to see all the council members that made it today, and hope the best of those who may or may not have had the time or effort or dilemmas in making it today. My thanks go out to them in the ways that they try to communicate to the community and what they do for those with developmental disabilities and what they can contribute. Sorry for that Porky Pig moment right there.
I like that.
Anyhow, right now, my first question is, because we didn't really have a setup meeting, but we had a setup meeting, but we had some approved guests on our list, but may not be successful in this meeting. Do we have any guests, Clackamas County, in today's meeting that we need to know about and need to be advised on? Well, we are collaborating today's agenda, maybe a pre-approved agenda.
There are no visitors in the room today.
Okay, so, all right, that's good.
I have a question, a clarifying question.
Absolutely.
And by visitors, does it mean anybody that's not currently a council member, or what does visitor mean? Because
That's a good question, because it is a public meeting. We can have public people here. Of course, that's different than
Got
what
it.
I would consider a visitor. If you have someone that's a guest in the way of the meeting or needs to observe a meeting because of the context that we are speaking of, it's very advisable that we are aware of that, so we know where the notes and who to contact afterwards as the meeting progresses, or this type of space, has this conversation platform.
thanks, John. I appreciate that. Thank you for that clarification.
That'll be great. So anyhow, my thing is we need to now approve on the agenda. Excuse me, we need to approve on the meeting minutes from 2/27/2023. I myself had a couple of concerns, so I'll raise my hand, but does anyone else have any concerns of the approval of the minutes for 2023, right? 2/27/2023. Does anyone have any questions on the minutes that you guys may or may not have read? No. I'm sorry I'm going fast. If you guys need me to slow down, please tell me. All of you in the meeting space. Jacob. I'll repeat it when Jacob's audio is connected.
Okay.
So Jacob and the council, we are trying to approve the minutes for 2/27/2023. I do have my own questions personally as an advocate in ways of how to handle a situation. We could approve them as written or as given out, but I do want to point out, I did want one thing added on, or not where to put that. I'm going to raise my hand as a council member. All right, so my question is, it talked about some policy meeting on March 15, on the March meeting. Is there any way we can add a post comment area on those notes in ways of reasons why that meeting was not given out, in ways of distribution? And then my point is, as chairperson, as someone who's very interested in this, I want to point out that I myself, as an advocate, had at least, I did it in 3 different sections. I did it in the bill numbers, in ways of concerns. I did it in concept ways, and I did it in just 3 simple theories in ways. What I'm trying to point out is, it's not just about one bill number that other members may or may not have put on there, but I want to point out in the notes that as an advocate, I have been up to date and contributing in ways that I'm trying to, want Clackamas County's input on. And I don't not want that to be missed in the notes for public record. If it's this note in this meeting's note today that we can improve next time, or the approval process of 2/27/2023 notes in ways that I too had my questions, but I was very prepared. spending 10 hours later on for March's meeting and try to be non-biased and try to navigate through that process. So is there a way that we can at least put on the notes that John Merrick had some concerns that he was later gonna address, or can we, or do we need to just look at that, approve the meeting minutes today and put that in today's notes? How would you guys like to move forward with the meeting notes and approval process, even though I did have my concerns back then? That may or may not have been noted.
So
think it-
John. Go ahead, Colleen.
I think maybe it should be noted in today's meeting and just, approve from last time and just put a note for this time that there was this concern.
Anyone want to second that and just confirm that type of theory? I don't think we need a Robert's rule of full vote on that, but I would like to have a second voice in that, because I know I did have many concerns for that meeting, in ways that I did update and it was not noted at that time.
I'll second the updates for today's meeting notes.
Thank you, Jacob. So we'll just leave it for this note as a side concern. We do have quorum, it looks like. Do I have a confirmation on quorum requirement?
You do have a quorum, John.
All right, thank you very much again for your time and effort. So for the meetings of notes for 2/27/2023, are there any other concerns? And I know I've said that, but now I'm doing it officially. It sounds like it's been approved by as is given to the council. So the meeting minutes have been approved. I'm sorry, am I doing the meeting minutes, or I just screwed up? Sorry about that. All right, Kim, I'm gonna need you. What should I do? I forgot. I was doing meeting minutes and then I did the approval.
Yep, you did meeting minutes, and then we just need to
There we
vote
go.
to approve the minutes
So
last.
retrack, we approved today's meeting minutes of 4/24/2023, since there was no objections to meeting minutes. Now we're gonna go back to 2/27/2023, and we will need a vote, first, second vote, and vote for that officially to make the minutes official of 2/27/2023. So do I have a call for a vote to approve the minutes of last meeting that we have?
I'll motion to approve the last meeting minutes.
And then we
I'll
need-
second it.
All right, any discussion? Like we've already tried, but I followed it up this time. All right, I think we're gonna vote. I think what we try to do, if anyone would like to remind me, that would be great. Thumbs up means yes. So open mouth means no. And the dog is neutral for stating the vote. So everyone needs to get the thumbs up or the wows or the things. I tried my best to get a yes and a no, but unfortunately, so. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Aaron, Colleen, Jacob. Awesome. And me. All right. Hopefully, if Sasha is back, I don't see her right now. Hope everything's okay. None needs to be said on public. All right. So what is up on bylaws and meeting frequency pickup numbers? As we-
Did you read that,
we-
John?
Yeah, we need to do program update.
Yeah, and actually in the chat, Lisa mentioned that she's having a little bit of trouble hearing you.
That is no problem at all. Tell me when I am being muddied up. Am I muddied up? All right,
Nope.
no, I'm still
Sounds
good.
good now.
Awesome. I apologize for that, for the recording of you guys. I don't want to be a smart aleck person on my thing. So why I don't want to be too loud while, trying to take these meetings. So I appreciate it. Sorry about that. And thank you very much for that heads up. Hopefully it's not over muted and over saturated on FPL levels. So again, I apologize, and let's continue on. Is there any program updates from Clackamas County they would like to give us as a council as we move forward? I.e. being May.
We are the they.
Kim, do you have anything? Oh, Stacy, go ahead.
Oh, well, I can report to the council that in regards to our audit, that we submitted our corrective action plan back to ODDS with documentation. It was due on the 22nd, so 2 days ago. We sent it last Thursday, and we are still completing some of our audit activities. Some of those things that I believe Amy Butler sent our corrective action plan in the notes last time, and so all the activities we discussed or documentation we said we were going to submit, most of it has been turned in, and we're completing a few activities in the month of May. So that's the audit update.
Another
I'd-
component,
Oh, go ahead.
Stacy, of the audit was that some, I think, exciting news to share with the council is that we submitted what I'm going to say refuted. We refuted some of the things where they stated that some of our progress note entries were not billable, and we refuted the majority of them. And I think we ended up with maybe only 5 or 6 that were not overturned. So almost 100. We were at almost 100% accuracy in our progress notes. So that was a positive. Related to the audit. Thank you.
Does anyone on the council have any questions? Jacob? Thank you.
Those questions, just more, great job. I think that sounds wonderful that you guys challenged it and it came back that you guys were in the right.
Yeah. Thank you.
And it looks like one of the other things under program updates was the end of the public health. The public health emergency ending in May, and the impacts to our program around that. So, so a couple of things that, and Kim can add to this, or even Brooke, anybody else, but a couple of things that are happening as we prepare for the end of the public health emergency is that starting in May, we will be offering everybody the option of an in-person, their own assessment to be completed in person. And although families or individuals should be given the choice of how they want those assessments completed, in person, telehealth, some of them can be done over the phone. If assessments are done via telehealth or over the phone, then assessors still have to go out and do a face-to-face observation with every single person. And so we're going back to that in May. We are required to get signatures on documents too, and that, ISPs and other support documents as well. And tomorrow we're starting this process. We've been in a pilot around DocuSign, and so there's some trainings happening around that, one tomorrow for DD staff, and then there is actually one in May that is open to everybody. So families, providers, individuals, and we could definitely get that information out to people if you want to learn more about DocuSign as an option. Those are two of the things that come to my mind in terms of a public health emergency. Do you, Kim or Brooke or anybody else have stuff to add to that?
No, just knowing that that more things are starting to return to the, I guess, pre-pandemic way of more in person and being out in homes in person. So things will change if people want to ask, there's different things and different components of people in homes, or anyone that lives in maybe a residential setting says, I don't feel comfortable having staff come in, or people come in without wearing masks, then we are still required to wear masks. But just knowing that the community will be sort of reintroducing how we used to do it. And for some people who were never in services, except for during the pandemic, this will be a big change and a big shift, even for some of our employees who have only been employed with us since the pandemic. So it'll be a shift for the community as well as us.
Looks like we got a couple of questions. It looks like on my thing, Roxanne was first.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to say another thing about the public health emergency ending. As of May, we won't be able to do verbal authorizations on releases of information. So prior to that, we used to be able to call someone on the phone and say, can I, send your referral to such and such, and they used to be able to give a permission over the phone, but now it has to be a signature. That's it.
All right. Sarah?
Yes. So my question was, as this is transitioning back, does the program have any options for those people who just absolutely don't want to meet in person, like individuals that really enjoy doing everything like this over, Zoom or the telehealth? Is there an option for them to continue to do that?
In terms of their ONA, there's an option to still complete the assessment via telehealth, but the assessor still has to go put their eyes on the person no matter what. So the interview can be done via telehealth, but they have to come out, see them, do a quick face-to-face observation. There is no exception to that requirement, but the actual assessment itself could be done via Zoom or even on the phone as a last resort. In terms of, there is an annual face-to-face requirement for at least once, and maybe more depending on what service setting you're in. So the option of never seeing a person face-to-face is not an option at all.
I'm thinking more in line like ISPs, some individuals really, I noticed, engaged more through like Zoom ISPs than in person. So is that something that will be offered to continue, or is everything going back to in person?
I think things can be done, but you still have to have your face-to-face requirement annually. And so when you do that could differ for somebody. ISP development could probably be done via Zoom if that's what people chose, but you still have to get the signatures. And so if we're using DocuSign, that's a way to get signatures without being in person. But
Roxanne, did you have?
Oh, yeah. So I've been starting to plan my May ISPs. The majority of people still really want to do it over Zoom. I think it's more convenient for everybody. So what I've been doing is that I said we could discuss the plan, and I'd write the draft, and then I'd come in person to get signatures, and just review the final document with them. As far as the need to see someone in person, I only need to physically see someone in person once a year. If they live in a foster group home, I have to be on site every quarterly, so every 3 months. But otherwise, if they feel more comfortable doing that, I just need I need to just check in with them every 3 months. So that could be phone or Zoom otherwise, and just see them physically once a year.
That's good to know. I'm just asking in general too, like with Roxanne is my service coordinator, so I see her and we're good. But as far as other individuals, what's coming, some people really got used to this platform, and they engaged a lot more. It was less stressful, I think, and less kind of in your face, having your whole team show up and everyone sitting at a table was kind of overwhelming sometimes for some folks. So I was just curious if that would continue to be an option for people who preferred it. So thank you for all that.
And the ODDS unwinding guidance has come out, so I will say that we can send that as well, just for reference. But that will be what we're required to do. So, and it's also, we need to document. So if somebody says, I can't handle this in my home, we have to document all the options we did and how we were going to accommodate that, at least that in-person part of it. So.
All right. Staff, I see your hand. Would you want to go first, or would you like me to go first?
You can go first since you're in the line.
My questions are on the ONA and the ISP recertification. I would love to know where people can find out how the registration progress is going, and without bothering management at hand. I know with Social Security, there's a call number that makes it very helpful to know at least what the progress number is, or if when someone calls for information, you can see if it was a real call. But my main point is to help these people who are in the process that may or may not be new, like myself being an advocate the last 3 years, is to explain maybe what the difference while you're in the ONA process, what the difference of an ONA is versus an ISP. Maybe your clients may know that a lot, but I do get that a lot of advocates that are very frustrated. And, when it was a 5-point test of evaluations to now the ONA, ISP, and maybe another one like the ANA or whatnot. But just to remind your clients that this is just one part of the process, please, this is this part of the process. You can demand certain things later in this part of the process in your plan. That would be not nice, but anyhow, it would be helpful, I think, on that. My question for Stacy on DocuSign for muted customers and ways that they're cognitively available to do. Do I need to go louder?
No, it's very garbled. It's starting to break up.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, because of
There you
the heated levels. I apologize to the public like that. If Zoom had a volume meter, I would be much helpful for that as an ADA accommodation. But anyhow, Stacy, my question on those who are muted customers on DocuSign, are there any policy changes that have changed in the past in a way that they may have been prevented to sign those type of documents? And what is the procedure of those who may or may not be able to verbalize their consent, but maybe still have the cognitive abilities for the consent? What is the current landscape of that for post-pandemic versus during pandemic, where it was a little bit easier to get through those type of situations?
Well, DocuSign, this is a pilot. Well, a pilot now becoming available. I have not had the training yet, so I don't know the answer to all the questions. Has anybody? You're not, Roxy, are you part of the pilot at all? Or?
No, I'm not a part of it,
Okay.
but I have used DocuSign. They just send you an email, and then if anybody's renewed a lease in the last 10 years, that's the same thing they use. They just send you an email, and then you just go through and click buttons, and that's your signature.
I just want to make sure a muted customer who does have the ability to consent is considered in the process of post-pandemic ideals and legislation or department procedures.
Yeah, and
That's fine.
DocuSign is just one option. So just know it's not, they're moving down DocuSign, and this is the only way that they'll be operating moving forward. This is just one tool in our
I'm talking about any signature that's post-pandemic, but I know DocuSign's the hot word of the day, and I'm just making sure that that's been noted and understood in ways of post-pandemic care and consideration. And then I guess I will also ask on, you guys have to visiting your clients every year, which I'm going to push against the grain of advocates, and I apologize to the advocates side, but I do believe there should be a one-time in-person visit, even at the office or to the home. My question is on the mask wearing thing is I'm not disagreeing. I'm not agreeing, but what I'm asking is it because of hospital rules, or is it because of an ODDS policy in ways of extreme care? Is it so as a council, or when we read these type of rules, where can we read on some of these extreme quote measures that some people might think is extreme procedure of caution in ways of is it a ODHS issue, a variables issue? Where can we go for that information so we can understand better why you guys have to make the policies you make in extreme conditions like what maybe we would consider nowadays after post-pandemic, wearing a mask in a high situation or vulnerable situation. Thank you.
It's ODDS policy. So it's part of the ODDS policy and public health unwinding.
All right.
And there's still the requirement, the state requirement is the vaccination requirement hasn't gone away yet. So people who it's still operating as people in settings like ours or medical settings. If they're unvaccinated, have to wear masks in those settings.
All right.
So there's a few layers to that,
Yeah.
but the wearing of the mask is currently in ODDS policy.
All right.
And
That's
it is the
post-pandemic,
question-
right?
asking the question, after after whenever April 3rd, I think it was, or whenever it was that they said that we stopped wearing masks in medical settings. But it's always the question is asked. It's asking that, if you're entering someone's home, do you want us to wear a mask? And if they say yes, you have to wear a mask.
All right. And that's post-pandemic, right?
Yes.
Thank you, Kim. And then I'm on a side question, which may or may not be relevant in this question, but on the audit, that was only for 2021 to 2022 budget, or was that for considering budget? And we can talk about budgets later.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with budget cycle. It has to do with our basically our audit cycle. And so it was
2021.
to 2022. So
Yeah.
All right.
it was
How you run your department. I get it. All right.
no,
Thank you very much.
it's the state. It's the state. The state makes that decision of what time frame is audited.
Understand. I just need to know the time limit. I'm sorry, I used budget as the word of how you guys handle the whole department. Thank you for your time. All right, Sasha.
Yeah, thank you guys. Sorry if my internet cut out, and so I had to kind of come in here halfway through the discussion. I'm guessing that you're talking about wrapping up the PHE. And I didn't hear any discussion about a really, really, really huge thing that's ending in the PHE ends, which is 440 families are not going to have paid parent caregivers anymore. And I'm sorry if I get really emotional about this, but I spend all day, every day talking to people who are literally looking at losing their kids and their housing because of this and because of the lack of support. So that is a huge thing that I'm really surprised still isn't being brought up in these discussions. It's been over a year that I've been listening to people talk about wrapping up the PHE and not talking about how hugely impactful this program has been. So is it being talked about at the administrative level? Are you guys hearing from caseworkers about the impacts that this is going to have on their children?
I guess with a pause, I would say no.
Yeah.
I mean, I think at the ODDS level, the conversations currently are around the supporting, around the support, the advocacy for that being addressed, and the sense I get, and this is me, this is the sense I get is it's like that conversation's taking place somewhere else. We're not having that conversation here at this table because that's playing out in legislative
It is
settings.
happening because it's being wrapped up as the end of and without a gap funding program, those people are losing that support. And to me, it's been, I mean, I'll just speak personally, it's been the most successful support program that my family has ever experienced. And I know for many people, I'm one of the lucky ones in that this won't be absolutely devastating to lose it. And I feel like it should be something that is directly impacting these services and these discussions and should be something that there's planning around because, like I said, I mean, I talked to a dad a couple of days ago who said he's going to lose his housing because with this program, he lost his Section 8 voucher, and he's looking at really putting his daughter in the hospital and doing a safe surrender. So these are huge conversations that I feel like really need to be happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Sasha, for your work and what you're trying to accomplish in the conversation spaces that need to be conversational with all groups around the state. I will also point out it is frustrating for advocates not to have their voice. I know equity is an issue with that, but we've talked about some of that here already from the last meeting. But for parent groups, I do think even for advocates like myself, who's only been doing, not hardcore, but been doing this consistently for the last 3 years, we definitely need to know the pre-pandemic conditions and where that transitional budget that Fair Voice is pointing out in ways of how to contribute to our community and support those on both sides of the table. And so it's something that I will say that the parents, someone who's younger than I am now, because I'm near grandparent age. I mean, we're not being taught how to be grandparents. I mean, outside of Pop 128, that's just being parents. So what I'm trying to point out is we do need a conversation of a place to how to survive and how to live in ways that we will always treat it, in ways that we need to put equity and other issues in other points. I'm sorry, Sash, I'm not putting your key points in there. You cut in if you would like, in what point you would like to make on that, but that conversation.
I mean, I would love to have an offline conversation with you about this, John, but it's just so real for our families. And it's something that, it's not just that nothing's being done about it, it's that it's not even being talked about. And that's what's so frustrating. So I apologize. I know that there are a lot of issues on the table and that there are a lot of different communities that have to be impacted by the budget, but we did it. We did it for 2 years and it was really successful and it didn't cost that much more. So I don't, that's my
I don't know what it may have not cost that much more in some languages, but when budgets are cut at the county level, those type of budgetary conversations do need to be made when legislators prop up certain policy points that they need to cut the budget. So I do think county programs do need to have that conversation if it's the advocacy side or whatnot. But back to me talking to you, Sasha, there's a lot of frustration on my end when entities have different priorities than advocates in a lot of sense. I'm talking about the full program, not just Clackamas County. And that's something that really bothers me as a self-determined person who's never been in this field until much later in his life. And that frustration, I do feel your frustration, though yours is more rampant, and I can understand, I see a longer game sometimes on my end, and it's frustrating. But I do see that point being made where we have to restart and just start on mission statement when we should have done it, a year and a half ago in certain areas. So, those little frustrations that might be in a different language of what I'm communicating to you is resembled, but we can't forget those who we've forgotten, even while we make those policies and those type of changes. And Roxanne?
Yeah, sorry. What Shasta was saying actually did emotionally get to me. I'm a new mom, so that I had to take a second to kind of collect myself. But yeah, the public health emergency ending has been devastating for people. I work with people who receive supported living services, so they live on their own. And specifically with food insecurity, people are having their food stamps slashed to the point where they can even buy like a couple cartons of eggs with the cost of groceries right now. And food insecurity is actually at the level of the Great Depression at this point. I don't think people will realize that. But it is it's a tragedy. I think that the public health emergency ending has really shown a lot of gaps in our system and where we are really not having places to catch people and support people. I don't have anything else to say other than it just breaks my heart. I'm doing everything I can to help people with finding resources. But yeah, it's definitely done on a federal level, and they don't really there's not a lot of thought done to the daily human cost of this.
Yeah, as chair and trying to figure out all issues and together and, doing the best I can on the advocacy side. Asset limit conversations to our legislators is important, Roxanne, definitely when shelter workshops are being closed and minimum wages are going up in ways of food insecurities and those with and without disabilities is something to also mention in conversations that we may need to have later on. I'm not trying to make my own policy point, but I want to point out again, you lose those assets once you get a job. And if it's a 6-week pay month being different than a 4-week pay month in ways of asset limit control, it's something that is difficult to communicate. Another thing that I see, this is the type of conversation I was hoping we'd have in policy, like what Sasha was mentioning, Roxanne, in a policy meeting, is the new toll tax that are coming out and how that would affect those with disabilities where they've always been shut out in life. So that type of outside of our own greed wanting to go to Washington or Nevada or whatever it may be in personal gain, it does make concern of environmental equity for those with disabilities too. So that's one personal thing. Sorry to talk about it on a personal point, everybody. I'll try to be back to chair, but Sasha makes a good point when we need to have conversations of pre-pandemic versus what reality is today. Hopefully I didn't overcut you on that, Sasha, but in many areas. We got another 5 minutes, Kim, I see your clock on. Sarah?
Yeah, I just had a really quick question. As an adult foster provider, I don't know as much about what's going on, but Shasta, I had a question for you on this. So when the pandemic happened, these funds were allocated to families to assist in providing care for their children. Was it because, can you explain that? I'm not as familiar with it. Somebody who isn't, so was it a
Are you familiar with attendant care services?
Yes.
So basically just the restriction against a legal representative being also the paid support provider was lifted. So this is happening in 6 different states around the country already pre-pandemic, and there are 8 more states that are adopting programs, CNA programs. Oregon is also adopting one, but it won't be in effect until July 1st, 2024. And so there's a lot of people who are kind of facing this fiscal cliff because they were finally being paid for the labor that they were providing their children, and they won't be anymore.
And so this started pre-pandemic?
Not in Oregon, but there's been other states where it has what did start pre-pandemic, California, Colorado, New Hampshire.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Anyone else have a conversation before I have to put another comment for advocates in there? And you can say something if you want, anyone else on it, but I also want to remind the council about the language that legislators have already used to explain these types of this type of language, and also those who have been shut out in conversation spaces that legislators have mentioned during the testimony portion part of it. And so I understand that there does need to be language and conversation, but so I would love to know what Clackamas County needs to explain today versus what has been explained later in this conversation space for those, in this case, post-pandemic relief. So we'll figure that out, and it is on my docket, Sasha. And Lisa, I hope to have you as co-chair help navigate those conversation spaces, even advocates are being shut out in some conversation spaces, as legislators have meant, versus the conflict of interest bill and how history does not repeat itself. So that's the most important thing. And history, yes, to the parents, but also with the advocates too. So we had the conversation.
I'm confused. I'm sorry. Are you saying that there are advocates who are being shut out of the conversation?
During
Because,
the testimony at SB 91, Sasha, Gelsop Lewin mentioned that certain advocates were being shut out of conversation spaces. I'm going to leave it to that and let your investigation go on that. I will say I took a middle meeting, but I did not. I'm still neutral of the position, doing what I can for both sides of the causes. Okay. So but it
I
does need
would
to be noted. It
absolutely
does
love to
need-
talk to you about this offline, John, but those accusations have been made over the course of the year, and we've asked over and over again for specifics of who exactly is being
And
shut out of what conversations. So please don't spread rumors that aren't true unless
I'm
you
not
know
trying to
specific
spread
people.
rumors, what legislators have already said on the record. That's what
Okay.
I pointed out, what legislators said on the record, and I pointed out what I was, and I pointed out what you guys have also done allegedly on other ends also.
But
So-
again, that's alleged, and we've asked again and again, and I have said in this meeting that I would love to talk to you more.
And
And
back,
if you know of
I
any
need to
people
view
that
the
I need to talk
conversation
to,
as
that would be
chair.
great.
I need to
Thank
view the
you.
conversation as chair. Again, Clackamas County, I would advise you guys to talk about the history and how we can move forward with the history and both sides of the table being, having that conversation space. All right. What will be next?
Bylaws and meeting
Bylaws.
frequency.
All right, do we have the bylaws that have been submitted yet?
We have bylaws in existence right now
Okay,
for the council. And I think that Amy shared them with people. I can pull them up if you'd like to take a look at them.
yeah,
The
that's a good
subject,
idea.
okay, the subject that we're going to talk about right now, and it's pretty simple. It's that the bylaws state that the council will meet 8 times a year. And that has not necessarily been happening. So we were talking about maybe putting together a schedule. I guess the way the council used to do it was they basically put together a monthly schedule, but agreed on certain months of the year that tended to be ones where people were unavailable, like maybe December, June, March, that kind of thing. So picking like 4 months when the council wouldn't be meeting out of the year. And Lisa is saying, sorry. Oh, okay.
Sorry, I
That's
just
okay.
missed all of that. I was on a phone call. So I don't want to rehash this or bring up this topic again, but I would love to speak further about it with you, John, and or Shasta. Just
I don't know if I can take the meeting on what legislation and public record I've put on forward, but I did point out a couple of concerns to Clackamas County on talking about the history and how to move forward in ways that we may or may not have been informed of this type of topic point. And I'll put that in since records are kept on public records on meeting chat. That is something that I will try to put into verbal form, but it may not be the total thing. But I'm gonna just put myself, Clackamas County needs to inform both sides of the table how to move forward to this. That's all. Sorry about that, Brooke. I interrupted you. You were talking about why we need 8 meetings and how to get through that.
Yeah, so our current bylaws say that we'll meet 8 times a year. And as I was saying, the previous councils have agreed upon the months based on, kind of scheduling it monthly and then talking about the 4 months of the year that people might not be available and deciding not to have council meetings on those months. So that's just one way to do it. Other ways would be maybe every 6 weeks, I suppose. Anybody have any thoughts about that?
Yeah.
I think it would be great if we could maybe choose 4 months that we don't have meetings, like December gets really busy for people and different things. I feel like that would be super productive, so that, most of us can still come. Also, I like to throw out, and I don't know if this is appropriate time, is there any way to get kind of like a timeline to put things on the agenda? So, is there a way to get some kind of like group email sent out that says, hey, we're starting to think about the agenda for the next meeting. Anybody have anything you want to throw on there? Because for me, and maybe it's just me, trying to kind of guess when to throw out an idea or to ask about something, it's kind of hard. So if we kind of had a heads up, or if we had the pre-planned meetings, 3 weeks before the meeting, submit everything that you guys would like, or just something organized a little bit like that would be great.
Sure. Maybe 2 weeks ahead, something like that. Just a
Whatever.
agenda item.
Yeah, whatever the timeline is for who, who's putting it all together, even if it was 3 weeks, just a certain time, like, hey, if you have anything to discuss, get it in before, this 2-week deadline or 3-week deadline.
I think having a parking lot idea versus what we're working with versus, sorry, I should raise my hand on this since I'm doing it as an advocate. But having a parking lot idea, having a working idea of what we're doing, and then the guests that we've approved would be a great working format. What Sarah is saying, for me, what works as chair is every month or every 2 months at the least, I've been contacting Kim, Stacy, Brooke, and usually Amy, and asking if anyone has contacted them with ideas. And so far, I don't know if anyone wants to say if there was a response on that on this platform, but what I've heard is there really has not been. So still, if you have ideas, give it to them on that platform. It's the best for me. I know that one-on-one contact better in some ways, but we are working on a public record form in a way of a council. And for that, I need to have it kind of filtered in by the administration. So when Lisa, my co-chair, or me as a chair, it could change, later on. But for myself, that works best in a way that we can have those conversations when we do the executive meetings. And I don't know if that's the best way. I probably is a difficult way, but I also don't know what the legal ramification is because it's such a new council. And it's hard to ask those type of questions when it's so new like that, where the Clackamas County and everyone's trying to get their leg into this type of council, advisory council environment. So I would love more conversations about how to submit ideas. I've offered coffee hours. I've offered to be at the office hours, for 2 hours, 2 times a month, and hearing these ideas from the council so they can submit it to Clackamas County. I don't know the answer is, and I don't really believe doing it through the back doors and where government accounts can't really go into other document sources sometimes. So I would like some opinions on how we can get those ideas to flow in a way that it was tough just to get 5 meetings. When we voted for 5 meetings and now we have to do 8, and then also sometimes our voices are not even heard by Clackamas County and move meetings at will. So I don't know how serious, I want to make it as serious and as credible as possible. And just so I can tell my friends, not my advocate friends, my non-disabled friends and everything, that we actually have a council that they might be able to contribute to. All right, done my advocacy stump, hopefully. Was there a hand up? I missed it. No.
Oh, my hand was up. I was just saying, if 5 is difficult, is there something in the bylaws that says it has to be an hour and a half long? I'm wondering if it would be more, if it would be easier for us to do if it was like a shorter meeting, like an hour long instead.
I would like to hear Mimi or Jacob or someone else, not all of you guys, of course, but what would be easier? Should we do a monthly meeting and then have 2 months off? Or should we just do an hour and a half meeting every 6 weeks? What would be easiest? If we do an hour and a half, 6 weeks, there's going to be a lot of topics. We're not going to just do one topic like today. And that might overwhelm Clackamas County or other ideas like it has been the last, couple. I want to make it easiest on both sides.
I think, as it's mentioned, like choosing the months that are not, everybody's not available. I think that's a good idea. And also, I just want to mention during these council meetings, I think I am seeing in the past, I have been participating and I'm seeing changes in the Clackamas County, which is it's very good because like our voices are being heard too. So I am benefiting from this, and I'm so fortunate to voice what's going on in our side of the story, and continuing to communicate and continuing to work with Clackamas County. So looking forward to put out agendas to be included so that we can discuss and make changes. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, that input. I guess, Mike, another question I had, or who controls the agenda and who crafts it? Is it the department or the council? Because I've been getting I've been told both on both sides by various members of the community outside this atmosphere. And, you know, some of the more people who have more experience is the county. And some of them say it's council member driven.
The board sets their own agenda, the board chair sets the agenda, but the staff is usually there to help.
And for you guys to know, I've been trying to put a landscape of certain topic points and certain things. For example, like how do other advocates and advocacy council communicate to the public? I'm trying to put out that we will have tons of things to do. Social inclusion was my goal when the advocacy thing came out on 2/27 or whatnot, and then post-pandemic thing would have been today. It's not that I'm not listening to you, it's just different opinions in different ways. So hopefully we can still reach those type of topics, the topics that you're interested in, including the parent pay, including the advocacy, and how in history does not, you know, put them in policy point positions sometimes and other issues. I guess one question I had at Clackamas County, what is the standards and practice? What are the standards of excellence for this council? If you haven't already answered that.
Can you repeat that, John? I'm sorry.
Absolutely. What is the standards and practice in ways of what is the standard practice of what this is all about? And what is your standards of excellence?
Are we talking about meeting frequency or
Yeah,
something else?
we are talking
Okay.
about meeting frequencies and the
Okay.
ways that we execute meetings and the ways that the chair and the vice chair listens to ideas.
Okay.
And ways of that. Clackamas County does have concerns that they would like to make, like say 4 different topics for a whole year. It might be an idea that we can do here in ways that we can only do 4, but then if there's an emergency, then something else could happen. I'm for both standards, but I need to know what your guys' standards and practices are, and what are your standards of excellence in ways of executing 8 meetings. How are we going to be included in our voice versus what the county needs in its voice? And how should we move forward in a way that's very important to move forward with these 8 meetings that are in the bylaws?
I think current standards, if we're following our bylaws, which is what we should be doing for this entity, is 8 times a year. Is current bylaws. So that's the expectation. If we've for following our bylaws is 8 times a year. So and as far as I'm gonna say I'm not sure I necessarily understand the standards for excellence for what you're saying, John. So I would imagine that
What I'm asking about that is what topic should we hit on, and how should we move forward in conversation while we go through those topics?
Right. And I'm going to leave that to the council as far as I mean, I think the council is what I think Shasta was saying was that that the council determines that it's an advisory council. So again, no decision making, but it is an advisory council to help advise us on actions or things that we're bringing forward. So I think it is still that kind of what you've been doing already, John. is that collaborative thing, is saying, let's have a meeting with, you know, it's the chair, the vice chair, and the chair, the co-chairs, and the county, and coming together and making sure we have a solid agenda. And I was gonna try to work on a poll, but I don't see the option to try to create a poll. So as far as like voting on something, so because we don't want to have, what I was concerned about is having like a whole bunch of different options out there, but it's either, can we vote on the 8 meetings?
I do like Sarah's idea on Lambert. If we move 8 meetings a year, vote not during November to December or July and August, meaning 4 months altogether. So is what I'm saying. I do like how that is. My only word that I would like Clackamas County to advise are those major months that we need to be concerned as a council in ways of how we can promote the council, or what issues that we need to be aware of that might be, knowing that you guys have the history of.
I almost wonder if, this is strictly, again, my thinking is, those are 4 months that we say we won't meet, but we can always have emergency decisions of, if we decide that we are going to hold something off because that month something crucial is happening. So we want, you know, we could always vote to have either move a meeting or have another meeting.
I will say, I will definitely do it. Let's do that out loud. But my one condition that I would like to add to the council is, let's meet for 8 meetings, 4 months that we do not meet, in ways of what was written down, which I will say out loud. But I would like to make it to the council to put 1 emergency meeting per year, if as needed, until, you know, later date. Would that be a possibility to agree on? Or would you guys rather just do the 4 months now and we can reach the emergencies later? Conversation, please. Council members.
Don, are you saying that we could agree to the 4 months?
I can agree with the 4 months in ways of the language of July, August, November, December today, because I'm going to be out by January. And so, I mean, that's not my control, but I would like to put in a condition of an emergency, if needed, an emergency meeting for a 9th meeting in the language. So it will be at least in the bylaws rather than it being taken in an emergency form.
Currently what we're doing is voting on the, when we're going to have the 8 meetings.
So we will need, if we move the meeting, so what
John, is it okay if I finish?
Yeah.
Would that be an option? Thanks.
Yeah, please.
I just wanted to say, so if we vote on these meetings and having these, what we aren't doing is voting anything into bylaws at this point. We're just following the bylaws that we haven't been following previously. And so we're gonna, what we would be doing, if I think I understand, is voting on what months we're going to hold meetings, what months we're not, and that we agree that we would leave or we would accommodate emergency meetings if the council felt they needed to.
I hear your language. Thank you for finishing up, and I apologize for the interruption. That's on me. So, council members, it looks like we need to vote on this issue in ways of the meetings, 8 meetings a year plus emergency meetings. Is there any language that I need to add? If there's no language I need to add in that, would someone first and second that language of having 8 meetings with emergency meetings being considered later on? Sounds like no action from the council.
So,
Go ahead, Jacob.
oh, I put it in motion for the 8 meetings with 1 potential, or with potential emergency meetings as necessary right here.
Thank you.
Second.
And no conversation. Roll call for vote. Thumbs up for yes. Open mouth or whatnot. And ta-da for neutral.
Motion passes.
Fantastic. There we go. Thank you, Jacob, for cutting in for that vote. I appreciate it.
So quick question, we were voting to have the 8 meetings, but we weren't determining which months yet, correct?
I think we were agreeing with what you wrote.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what we were doing, is we were agreeing with what you wrote. We just didn't.
Oh, okay.
No, I think unless anybody was disagreeing. If anybody disagrees with me, somebody yell at me, but I think we were voting on what you wrote, Sarah.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for clarifying that.
So for the record, we wrote what's on the meeting chat that will be on a Zoom thing.
Mhm.
And we will continue on with that conversation later. Now we're on to mission statement. Does anyone have that mission statement printed out in a way that's on the chat form so we can read it? I've asked 2 or 3 times. on my
Yep, I
side.
can do that.
That'll be great. I'm sorry that other people's abilities were not there. All right. Good to me. I only have one question, Sasha, and it's not going to detour the whole thing, so don't have to worry about it. But I do have a history question on certain things for Clackamas County on this. When people want to make you guys accountable, how often, how can I say this? When I look at bills, there's a lot of bills that get cut because people don't want to take any accountability on that bill. Are there any concerns? I guess what I'm asking is, what is the history of you guys being looked at being accountable when people who are making bills try to take all accountability away? For example, the guardianship bill, not parents, excuse me. Yeah, parents and those who are guardianship, it would have been checked every 5 years, but they try to strip that type of entitlement away. So anyhow,
Are we talking about the mission statement or the SB
no,
91?
I'm talking about the mission statement. Unfortunately, I'm an issue. I'm going to be right back, and I'm going to give it to my co-chair. Please approve. I put approval of it, Lisa. Have a good one. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Do you want me to approve?
I'm confused about what just happened. Does he have an issue with the language that says hold the DD service providers accountable to the public? Is that the part that we're?
I think so, but I'm not certain either.
I would actually like clarification on that.
Yeah.
The DD service providers accountable. So by service providers, like I'm considered a provider as an adult foster home provider. So is that what they mean, or everyone providing service, DD services? Like, can we define that a little bit better?
Yeah, I would consider it to be anyone who's providing a service with taxpayer dollars, from admin down to anybody.
Okay, because that's like my official title via the county would be a service provider. So that's why I was curious. You know, when everybody reads it, we perceive it in
Right.
right. So
Yeah, totally. No, I appreciate the discussion on it. Is there like a different word that we can use for service providers? Providers of services. Or-
and I just want a clarification for myself.
Okay.
It is kind
Well,
of
if you have the question, then the general public will probably have the question as well. So
Yeah. And my thing is those who provide services.
those who provide services, that's
Yeah.
fine with me.
I apologize for the interruption. It was a personal matter, and I try to move forward off of it.
Okay, I'm glad you're okay.
No. Self-determination.
Okay, so now I have Clackamas DD Council's mission is to hold those who provide services in the county accountable to the public, to the taxpayers, and most of all to the end users of those services. I'll copy this revised version in.
Did we cut out the language on the outreach part session? Clackamas County strives to outreach and reach.
So that, yeah, so what I'm copying in is the kind of rewritten version. That's second. So there's kind of 2 paragraphs here. And I think Sarah, the other Sarah, wrote this, and then it looks like somebody edited it, but I don't know who.
I still think for myself, the outreach portion is one of the most important parts.
Yeah, I think strives to reach out to the public is trying to perform the same role. Whereas striving to outreach just doesn't sound grammatical.
No, I
Is
understand.
outreach and reach out. Would you
understand.
prefer outreach?
I would prefer outreach, but I understand the grammatical hinge on it, but I do want for the record outreach as outreach rather than that way, because we do have to go out to the other parts of the community while we are council members, and that's the most important thing for me. One of the most important things.
Can we say perform outreach?
That's fine. Thank you. And
Mhm.
try to get
Does anyone have any additional comments or concerns?
I think that's a working draft.
Awesome. Should we vote on it?
All right, so do I need to read the whole revised 2 versions since it's on public record on the Zoom side? All right.
Shasta, can you put up the changes you've made? Like, is it?
Yeah, it should be in chat.
I don't see you just made a change, right, about
I did. It now says to perform outreach instead of the
Okay.
first revised one says strives to reach out.
Yeah.
So I'll read it out. It says the Clackamas County DD Council strives to perform outreach to the public to provide support and highlight community choices that are person-centered, diverse, and empowering, with support for an individual or group of individuals with disabilities, as well as their families and caregivers. Clackamas DD Council's mission is to hold those who provide services in the county accountable to the public, to the taxpayers, and most of all, to the end users of those services. We invite public testimony on issues related to Clackamas County DD services and advise the Board of County Commissioners on DD services policy and approach. Yeah.
Lisa?
Oh, sorry. I'm not sure.
All right. You're doing what you do.
Think that maybe the DD should be spelled out, should be written out. in
Each time?
Yeah,
Mhm.
I don't know if that's important to anyone. I
Yeah,
find
but-
myself even after years not knowing what DD really means.
That is a good explanation, because there's a difference of intellectual developmental disability services and the difference of DD services, just like there's a difference of DSPs and PSWs.
Yep.
So do you guys do both DD and IDD, Stacy or Kim, or is DD services the legal language of the department?
I think it's just developmental disabilities, right?
The
You'll-
program is,
yeah.
you'll see it multiple
Oh,
ways.
yes. So yes, I just need to put the question out there just in case if we're in legal land.
Yeah, because it's the Community Developmental Disability Program is the name, the CDDP.
Yep.
One more acronym.
Yeah.
That one took a while to learn too.
Mhm.
definitely could use a nice little flashcard game thing in a way that do all these acronyms.
Yeah.
Get
Well,
some-
and
some-
I just want to challenge the council for just a second. And in reading this, ask you if if you were a person with a disability, potentially, would you understand that?
We can do a revised version of.
I'm just challenging to say, I'm just thinking about, like, I know we have, it's a wide goal that the council has. But I'm wondering, making it accessible for whoever's reading it to really be able to understand it. I just wonder.
Any comment? Do you think your client will understand that?
I feel like they're, sorry, I'll raise my hand.
No, please, Tasha. It's understandable for right now. You're the one that's crafting the.
I feel like there's a lot of ways that we could like provide an accessible version, but I do feel like if we're a legal body, that there should be a certain amount of specificity and complexity to the mission statement itself. But we could ask ChatGPT to make, a version that is much simpler.
I don't know the legalities of that, Sasha, but I like the effort and so on. All right, Sarah, please.
I just have a quick question, and by all means, doesn't mean to change anything. And I know, John, that you really liked the word performing an outreach, but I almost was wondering if it wouldn't be clear to say that the Clackamas County Developmental Disabilities Council strives to support the public, like, and just supporting, like, we are outreaching, but the main goal is to support folks in the community. And I think that might be a little bit simpler to understand. I don't know, for some reason that part does seem a little confusing. Like, everybody understands what outreaching is, but
Understand, sir. And I will take
what
counsel.
Kim was saying, that might be a little confusing, just a little bit, that first little part. I don't know. Not saying change it, just throwing that out there.
Understandable. Colleen, anyone? No? I'm okay with that, not outreach. The reason why I put that out there is because we all have our own individual priorities that we strive towards. And as a council, we can outreach into the community with Clackamas County. And that's something that was important to me at the time, but I'm willing to strike out outreach if that's not what the council would need, and understand that. But on plain language, I think we can work on that. It's a good concern, but we need something and nothing over a year and a half, and that's my worry. And I think it's something that should be in the notes that we considered it. But yeah.
So I'm ready to vote on revised 3, so I can make a motion, but I did ask ChatGPT, and it says the Clackamas County Developmental Disabilities Council wants to help people with disabilities and their families. We want to make sure that they have good choices and are treated with respect. We also want to make sure that the people who provide services for them are doing a good job. We listen to people's opinions and tell the leaders of our county what we think should happen to make things better for people with disabilities.
Sounds like they know what they're doing. So how about we do this as a suggestion? That one does look good. But my suggestion would be we approve we approve as revised 3 as a council, and then we can use this chat GPS system for a revised version of a public page for those with disabilities as a mission statement. So does that sound Robert Rule of Order, Kim? Or how should I communicate that?
So moved.
We moved to at least move. Let's do revised 3. Does people want to approve addition revised 3? And this is the main one that we would like to approve for the main council. Or would Okay, I see anyone on the council side that would like to do revise 3. I move,
I will move.
yeah, and I
Go ahead.
move to, I move second, revise 3 for Clackamas County as the council. We had discussion, any other discussions you would like to use or points you would like to make in your life in ways to revise 3? Okay, motion to vote, motion to vote. Don't forget thumbs up is yes, the wow is no, and the ta-da is abstain. Thank you very much for your time and effort, Sasha. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I still have my own questions on certain things, but we can get to that later in ways of Google Docs and stuff, but that's my own concern. I appreciate on the chat GPS system, would you guys like to still use the chat GPS system as a way of trying to get to a way to get to plain language in ways of moving forward for another page for like a plain language document that we might put for that for Clackamas County? Because it does look good. Is there any motion to keep that language of what Chat GPS did in ways of later on to consider for another page for a simpler version that people maybe with disabilities might be able to understand?
I would move that.
Yeah, you want to vote for that one, Sasha, first?
Yeah, I think it's great to have an accessible version. I appreciate Kim pointing that out.
Yeah, and I Lisa, would you like to second this? I don't always second first with Sasha. Would that be okay? All right, good. Lisa seconded. It's not that I don't want to be part of the team, but we have to try to get through it all. All right. I mean, we want to be a part of the team, but what I mean is like consistency. Of course, everyone else has the same amount, the equal vote on hand. So if we want to on a more accessible page for a mission statement for Clackamas County Developmental Disability Council, if you would like the Chat GPT version, and if it's legal, please, and I'm not saying use that, I'm just saying I don't know the legalities when you use this type of technology for city work. Please push thumbs up for yes on the Chat GPT, put the wow mouth as no, and ta-da as neutral for a more accessible page later on as the council moves forward. I got 4 votes there, so we are in quorum. Colleen, did you have a vote? Did you have any questions? All right, thank you. Sounds like we got the mission statement done on both versions of an accessible page, which hopefully will move forward the council later on. And we got our page for us as a council, so that's great. I appreciate your time. Open floor, anything good for the order or anything else? Unless there's someone out in the public that would like to have a public statement. Wait. All right, no one in the public to make public statements. I appreciate it. Anything for the good of the order.
So I'm just gonna say, John, we did miss a topic, so we'll need to bring that to the next meeting.
What's the topic that we missed?
Roles and responsibilities, CDDP role on advisory board and purpose of the advisory board, Robert's rules of order, backup and timekeeper. And it's a bit of a conversation. So in the 5 minutes
We'll talk to the co-chair about that. I guess I misinterpreted it, and I apologize to the council. I was trying to put that standards and practice to the rules and responsibility portion of it. I missed it. That was on me. I apologize for taking your time on that.
So I'd just like to request that we can carry that over to our next meeting.
We need a vote on that, Kim, in the way of the council. We can move that administration with.
I don't think we need to vote on it. I think we'll just carry it over as old business.
Yeah, that's on me, guys. I apologize. I was trying to do that standard of practice and excerpts, and I had my own advocacy edge on it without it being the topics. And now I will improve on that. All right. Anything for the good of the order? I will
Appreciate
put,
your leadership, John.
like other people have said, it's hard to be in the middle of life, but I understand both sides when I can. Okay. That'll saying, I appreciate you saying that out loud. I would like to put one thing for the good of order for the whole thing. Last March, it was a meeting I was really hoping I had 15 different policy points in ways that I have a conversation with. And I was very disappointed that we did miss that meeting. But one question I asked one of my broadcaster friends is show prep and, how you deal with when you over prep for something, because I spent 10 hours on certain things and I put, really good thought in trying to lead the conversations in points that, are agreeable and not agreeable. But the thing that I was reminded was, just the basics of, keep it simple and stuff like that. But the thing is, I really expect this guy, if he did respond to me and reminded me of some of the broadcasting standards that were, 20 years ago from my education. So for the good of the order, even though I have my difficulties with those with disabilities in some entities forms, it's nice to go back to, those who were there in your past and that can give you the reminders of your past and future. So I know it's not all options for those with disabilities that have these type of options. I know how rare it is in some spaces, but it is nice to know that, that they too have the same concerns and, and the same exhaustion point while they try to move things forward or other ideas as we move the conversation space. So I want to thank that individual personally and others that, have tried to contribute in other forms in my personal life outside of just the DD community at hand. So there you go. Hopefully we can get those people involved. That's my hope. All right. Anyone want to close? Yep.
Move to close.
We're ready to close?
Yep,
you guys have
motion
5
to
minutes?
adjourn.
All right. All right.
Thanks.
All right.
Bye.
So we need a motion to close the meeting. I'm gonna,
I motion to close.
all right. And
Second.
someone want to second that? That's second by Sasha. And looks like we're gonna vote for closing. Close with the thumbs up being yes. Yep. And yes. All right. Best of luck, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.